Today we're going to be doing Unit 2, Learning or Target 8 Notes. So today we're going to be talking about solving systems by elimination using multi-steps. So we've learned initially how to solve systems using elimination, and now we're going to take it to kind of the next level. So just like with substitution, there are multiple steps to some elimination problems, as well as the possibility of infinitely many solutions or no solution. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at infinitely many solutions. So just like with substitution, if both of the variables cancel and what's left is a true statement, then the system has infinitely many solutions. But then with no solution, if both of the variables cancel and what is left is a false statement, then the system has no solutions. So you just have to try and remember if it's true, infinitely many solutions. False, no solutions. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at a couple examples of that. So taking a look at number 1, well, I see that number 1 is already set up to use elimination. 6x minus 6x will cancel out. So I'm going to go ahead and add down the columns. 6x minus 6x is going to give me 0x. Well, and then 3y minus 3y is going to give me 3y. And that's going to be equal to a negative 24. Well, 0x plus 0y is really just 0. So then what I end up getting is that 0 is equal to negative 24. Well, that's never going to be true, so that's no solution, which feel free to abbreviate as NS, or you could write out no solution as well. So now we're going to go ahead and add down the columns again. For this one, negative 2x plus 2x is 0x. 6x minus 6y is 0y. 14 minus 14 is 0. So when you add those two together, that's really just 0. So what you end up getting is that 0 is equal to 0. Well, when 0 is equal to 0, that's IMS, or infinitely many solutions. So that's your answer for number 2. Let's take a look at these steps for solving systems by elimination. Now, this is when there's multiple steps. There's a couple steps that's added. So the first thing you need to do is to put the equations in standard form. So remember that standard form is AX plus BY is equal to C. So you want your X's and Y's on the same side, and your thing that's just a number on the other side. Then for number 2, you're going to multiply one or both of the equations by a number so that the variable has opposite coefficients. So we want them to have opposite coefficients. Remember, same number, opposite sides. So we need to figure out now what we need to multiply to make that true. Then you'll add the two equations together, and when you do that, one of the variables should cancel. If it doesn't cancel, then you did something wrong. So then what you're going to do is solve for the remaining variable, substitute that back in, and get your 2 points. That's exactly like we've been doing with substitution and elimination so far. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 3. So I see that I don't have any opposite signs, and I do have the same number. So both of these x's already have a 1 with them. So I have one of the two things I need because they both have the same number. So now I want to get them to have opposite signs. So to get opposite signs, what you do is you take one of the equations, it doesn't matter which one, and you multiply it by a negative 1. So then you're going to take that and distribute it in. So the top equation I'm going to keep the same. And then in that second equation, I'm going to multiply everything, including what's on the other side of the equal sign, by negative 1. So now I notice with the x's that I have same number, opposite signs. So I can go ahead and add down the columns. So x minus x is going to cancel out. 2y minus y is just going to be y. 10 minus 6 is going to be 4. Okay, so now that we know that y is equal to 4, where I see y up here, I can plug 4 into either one of those. It doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to plug it into the second one because I think that looks easier. So I take y out completely and I put 4 in instead. So now I want to get that 4 over to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and I get that x is equal to 2. So x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 4. So I'm going to write that out as a coordinate point. First my x, then my y. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 4. So for number 4, I see that my y's have the same sign. They both have the 1. And I need to make one opposite. So I'm going to make the first one opposite. Just like I said previously, it doesn't matter which one you make opposite. And you make things opposite by multiplying them by a -1. So we're going to go ahead and multiply everything in that top equation by a -1. The second equation I'm going to keep the exact same. So now I notice that my y's have same number opposite signs. So I can go ahead and add down the columns. -2x plus 3x is x. -2y plus y cancels out. And -4 plus 8 is going to be 4. So x is equal to 4. So where I see y up here, I can plug in 4 there or there. It doesn't matter. Let's just plug it into the first one. And we get this. Okay, oops, I forgot to plug in the 4. Okay, 3x plus y is equal to 8. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. And then I end up x is equal to 4. Silly Miss Humbert, I was so confused. X is equal to 4, so I'm going to substitute that in for x. See how I substituted in for y? Don't do that. X is equal to 4, so I needed to plug it in for x, not for y. So then I get 12 plus y is equal to 8. So then I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, and I get that y is equal to a -4. So now I need to write it out as a coordinate point. First my x, then my y. So that's my final answer for number 4. Let's take a look at number 5. So for number 5, I see that my x's have the same numbers here. But what they don't have is opposite signs. Okay, so I look here, these two have opposite signs. So -3 and 2y have opposite signs. So then I'm going to ask myself, what's the smallest number that 6 and 3 multiply to? What's the smallest number that they multiply to? And that number is 6. So then I ask myself, okay, what do I need to multiply 3 by to get to 6? Well, I need to multiply 3 by 2. Then I take a look at this one. What do I need to multiply 2 by to get to 6? Well, I need to multiply it by 3. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to distribute 2 into the top and 3 into the bottom. So when I distribute 2 in, I get 4x minus 6y is equal to 2 times 11, which is 22. When I multiply 3 into the bottom, I get 6x plus 6y is equal to 6 times 3, which is 18. So now I see that my y's have same number opposite signs, so I can go ahead and add down the columns. So here I'm going to have 4x plus 6x, which is going to give me 10x, and 22 plus 18 is going to give me 40. So now I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 10 to solve for my x. 40 divided by 10 is 4. So now where I see x up here, I can plug in 4. So I'm going to take x out of the first one, and I'm going to put 4 in instead. Minus 3y is equal to 11. So now we're going to solve that for y. So 2 times 4 is 8, minus 3y is equal to 11. So then I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So I get -3y is equal to 3. Divide both sides by a -3, and I end up getting that y is equal to a -1. So now I'm going to write it out as the coordinate point. First I write my x, and then I write my y. So that's 4, -1. Let's take a look at number 6. So I see on number 6 that my y's have the same number, but they don't have opposite signs. So I'm going to take that second equation, and I'm going to multiply it by a -1. That's how we get the opposite signs. So the first equation is going to stay the same, and then I'm going to multiply by the opposite on the second equation. And now I'm going to go ahead and add down the columns. 5x minus 4x is just going to be x, or you could write that as 1x. My 4y's are going to cancel. 30 minus 32 is -2. So I get that x is equal to a -2. So where I see x up here, I can plug in either one of those to be -2. So I'm just going to do the first one. So 5 minus 2 minus 4y is equal to 30. So then 5 times -2 is -10, minus 4y is equal to 30. So then the first thing I'm going to do is, since that's a -10, I'm going to add 10 to both sides. So then I get -4y is equal to 40. Divide both sides by a -4, and I get that y is equal to a negative 10. So then my x is negative 2, and my y is negative 10. So that right there is your solution for number 6. Let's take a look at number 7. So for number 7, I notice that the n's have opposite signs. What they don't have is the same number. So that n has a negative 1 in front of it. So then I need to ask myself, okay, what's the opposite of a positive 3? Well, the opposite of a positive 3 is going to be a negative 3. I say, okay, what do I need to multiply negative 1 by to get to a negative 3? Well, I need to multiply it by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply that second equation by 3. I'm going to keep 6m plus 3n equals 3 on top, and then I'm going to have 3m, when I distribute that in, minus 3n is equal to 24, because I multiplied everything in the bottom of the equation by 3. Make sure you multiply the thing on the other side of the equal sign by 3 as well. So now we need to add down the columns. 6m plus 3m is going to give me 9m, and 3 plus 24 is going to give me 27. Divide both sides by 9, and I get that m is equal to 3. So now I know that m is equal to 3, so I can plug it in there or there. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it into that second equation. So I'm going to have 3 minus n is equal to 8. You also could have used this version if you want to. That still works out as well. So then we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and then I get that negative n is equal to 5. Divide both sides by a negative 1, and I get that n is equal to a negative 5. Well, since this isn't technically a coordinate point because it's not x and y, I just like to write it in alphabetical order, which is 3, negative 5. So let's take a look now at number 8. So I take a look and I have 3y minus 12y. So I'm asking myself, okay, what's the smallest number that 3 and 12 multiply to, since I already have the opposite? Okay, well, 3 actually multiplies to 12. So then I'm asking myself, what do I need to multiply 3 by to get to 12? And I need to get to 4. So I need to multiply 3 by 4. Sorry about the announcement there. I need to multiply 3 by 4 to get to 12. So I'm actually going to multiply that whole equation by 12. That's going to give me 8. Okay, so now I can use elimination because my y's have same coefficient, opposite signs. Well, 8x plus 4x is 12x. 8 plus a negative 68 is going to give me a negative 60. Divide both sides by 12, and I get that x is equal to a negative 5. So x and negative 5 are the same thing. So where I see x up there, I can plug in negative 5. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for the first equation. So I'm taking x out, and I'm putting negative 5 in instead. Plus 3y is equal to 2. So when I get negative 10 plus 3y is equal to 2. Add 10 to both sides, and I get that 3y is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 3, and I get that y is equal to 4. So now I'm going to write that out as a coordinate point. So first I'm going to write my x, which is negative 5, and then my y, which is 4. So that concludes your note video for today. Please make sure you're asking me questions if you need help, all right? Thanks for listening.